Hi, good morning, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to Dreamy Dreamland with your Sensie Owl Bob, coming to you from an undisclosed garbage bag. Hey, this show, don't believe what I say. And remember, put things in capitals because I can't see anyway. Hey, this is things to come, right? So, remember that song from The Who? Don't Get Fooled Again, right? Same as the old one. That's kind of where we are, right? Donnie Chup is like, I love me some Donnie Chup and all the chuckleheads. Oh, man. I love him. I love him, man. Just woo. Yeah, I love it. He's just, yeah, woo wee, when they don't come up and they fire everybody in the government. Yeah, woo! That's gonna be loads of fun, kids, ain't it? Yeah, you guys with the red hats. Yeah, you know who you are. Yes, you're the Democrats. Yes, you were. You are the Red Dog Democrats. That's make America back then again. Woo! So. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to your Dreamy Dreamland. Yes, this show has been on for almost 8 years, and I've been saying the same thing for 8 years. Now, come on, go back and watch some of these past shows and go, oh my God, he was saying that in 1672. Yeah, I was on YouTube in 1672. Man, our founding fathers, they were not, this ain't democracy, kids. No. What this is a plutocratic republic. Right? And who's in that club? Not us. Go watch all those George Carlin. George Carlin, that's the boy to watch. George Carlin. Last 30 years of his life, he was a sage and funny. And an amazing writer. Go read his books, right? Someone asked the other day, what book should I read? Anything, George Carlin probably read 20 books. Remember, guys, put things in capitals, and any of those messages that are there that I can't read, well, I'm going to look at them later, right? Not now. They're not going to even be thought of, right? And you guys, trolls, let's have a prayer for the trolls. Our Father. So who is our daddy? Who's our daddy? Who's our daddy? Who's the big daddy? Well, it ain't no God up in the clouds in a gold chair, kind of looking like an orange turd. That ain't our daddy. I'm sorry, no. Love's co-creation. That's what is the creator of all things. Not the orange turd. Nope, sorry about that, kids. Right? Not you messianic cats and kittens. Sorry. So, message. Held for review. Reminds me of the 4th grade. You're held for review. But sister, holy roller skate. I have to go to the back. You're held for, what's your, come on. Crap on his plate. That tastes good. Yes. Okay, you can go. Held in reserve. Just like all that gold in Fort Knox ain't there, kids. It kind of left, right? Never was. Held in reserve, right? All those things that, supposed to be amendments, held in reserve. So, come on, guys, you gotta get in there. Hi, okay, that's a good one. How are you? Smile. I have no teeth to smile. I just have gums. I gum everything. I'm a gummy boy. Hey, I'm talking to you from an undisclosed garbage bag. Yes, you're going to be living in one. That's all you're going to afford. This garbage bag costs $800 a month, and that's not even counting the cost of the real estate underneath the I need my own person. Oh, there's somebody who puts it in capitals. Thank you, Bob. I feel a lot more lost than when you started in 2017. Yep, that was who's saying this, and not as settled. Okay, so first you have to realize how you were feeling back there in 17. It was exactly how you're feeling right now, because whatever solidity or composure or safety or things are okay, it's normal. And it wasn't normal. 2017, Donnie's in office, doing the same stuff he's doing now. But there were people, there were guardrails. And this was done on purpose. Everything's got timing. Go back. Go way back. Go way back. And in the beginning, you know, the Elohim, that's plural for gods. So that wasn't, Big Daddy. That was some kids with a chemistry set who made us, right? Our soul, now that's another story. Now, if you can get down with your soul, what's your soul doing right now, my friend? And who are you? It's so small, I can't even read it. I'm just going to have to call you Buddy, because everyone who was in the old cadre was basically Buddy. Remember Buddy, who was like the big bad troll? Get rid of him, he's terrible. And we prayed on him like our Father, right? So it's not Big Daddy, our Father. Who is that? That's love's co-creation. Who art in heaven. That means any place but here. Thy kingdom come. That means the housing project you live in. Thy will be done. Love's co-creation is the housing project, right? And covenant, we are that covenant, right? And there's where God lives, in that covenant, right? So you need to talk to God. You want some stability in your life? Look at me. I live on 400. I live in a garbage bag, right? And I see like Stevie Wonder. I wish I could play like Stevie Wonder, but anyway, it's all okay. It's like, our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Hallow, that's a really important word. That means that your heart is lined up with God's love and connected to Jesus's forgiveness, because that's the only doorway you're going to heaven. Well, you're just so full of sin. That was, the Torah. You know what the translation of the Torah is? You suck. You read the Torah and you read it as the Old Testament in King James. You really suck. God is always going on about, and see, the Jews did not become the Jews until like the 1600s, when they kind of moseyed into Western Europe with nothing but their shirt on their back and a lot of bling. And all those kings needed some bling to keep fighting their war and killing people. Just like today, the same thing is going on. Those kings who owned Lockheed and Boeing and Raytheon, right? Same guys, right? They need the bling. And who they taking the bling from but us? We the people. We're the chumps. Now, Donnie's just a grifter. He's just a game show host. And he's got billionaire gummy bears as his cabinet. And they're just taking everything they can. Good old Neon Husk. He was, the tampon for douche. And he just, the first 3 months, all he was doing was pulling out servers from government organizations and taking them down to his supercomputer in Tennessee and poisoning the poor people. They got like 48 gas turbines burning bunker oil. Do you kids remember? I think it was 1959. Chrysler made a gas turbine car. It looked like everyone wants their George Jetson car. Well, that was it. Right? It could burn anything. You could piss in the tank and add water, and that thing would go. I don't believe a word I say, but go look that one up. Chrysler made a gas turbine car, and it looked cool. That was everyone tried to, the Mustang, the this, that. Look, not That thing looked like a George Jetson car. Go look it up. Google. Hey Google, Chrysler's gas turbine automobile. Right? They made about 600 of them. It's like test vehicles, and everyone loved them. They're all over the place. And then it was the oil guys. Hey, this thing doesn't burn any gas. I mean, it gets 900 miles on a cubic centimeter of lighter fluid. No. So, and electric cars. I mean, we are it's just hilarious. I just love me some Donald Trump. I love my Donnie, my little, all of my digital devices are gone because I used to be able to do face shots of all the funny shit that I see as news. No news, Every MSNBC, CNN, NBC, CBS, ABC, Fox, they're all the same. They're saying the same thing. I once had a show where I lined them all up and went from one, and they all were saying the same thing. And they were all dissing each other. How terrible, blah, blah, they lie, blah, blah, blah. Donnie's the only guy telling the truth. He lies so much, he tells the truth. When he was running, I mean, this was a scripted thing. If Bernie had won back in 15 and ran against Donnie in 16, he would have eaten his shorts. But they went because he won everything except California. I'm talking about Bernie. Yeah, I'm a democratic socialist. Give me a break. There is no such thing. No one, and Donald is a fascist. I hate it when they say that. They don't even know what fascism is. Simple class here, right? That's why they call me Sensie Owl Bob. Right? We throw in some learnable moments. So, capitalism is when capital controls the state, right? Communism is when the state controls the capital. And fascism is when the corporations own the people. Go read Benito Mussolini's doctoral thesis. That boy was smart. Now, Adolf was just, he was just a cutout. He was just a poster boy. And he was, a cult pinata. And he's still alive. The poor boy is still alive. He's the first, chucklehead that they turned into a transhuman. That poor guy. I was talking to God this morning. I woke up. I'm alive. Okay. Thank you, God, for this day. Said my prayers, and then said, "What are we doing today?" Because I can't go anywhere. Really, can't go nowhere. Can't go on my. I don't have my my laptop. That's at my my digital gurus, and my other devices are all dead. And is any of that happening to you guys? Are your devices dying? Let's see. So, I'm not as settled. You're not meant to be settled. Life is meant to be learned. It's not a end result. It's not a race, right? It's a work in progress. We're a work in progress. And thank you for putting it in capitals. Hi there. Good to see you. Troll. Let's see. Garbage bag is the best camouflage. Yes. But this is my home. I pay rent on this. I'm paying $1,600 for. Yeah, I'm not quite South Park, but I'm getting there. Okay, let's see what are you guys saying here. So you're using stolen what? Oh, no, not stolen phone. You guys are. I've had this phone number forever. What about you? Born in a bag. Again, Jeff, Jeffy, yoo-hoo, Jeff. Put it in capital so your sensei can read it. So your stolen phone, ? No, it's not stolen, sorry. Was given to me by the kids at Micropenis. during the whatchamacallit, the event. This was this supposed to have been a great instrument of that I could talk to, but it's it is. I am thank God that I'm doing this right from a bin bag. Yep. Oh, so bin bag. You must be from England or Australia. Welcome to the 21st century. Yep, exactly, kids. Welcome to the 21st century. Thank you, but come on, Yappy. Put it in capitals. And good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to Dreamy Dreamland with your Sensie Owl Bob. You want to talk to me in person? Go to my The Dude Awake 42. I've had this now for 10, 11 years, so I knew the inside joke of 42 for a while. What's that above you? This is called wood. And when people get excited, they get wood. I remember you with John. Yeah, that was. I mean, poor Johnny. I really feel for that boy. He had real opportunity because we were like Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis, and poor Johnny didn't have his marbles together to be even Jerry Lewis. He was Jimmy, 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 and Rudolph. I was Rudolph. And about 10 other personalities, and that's Johnny Boy. And everything, it all has to be about him. See, the real key to success to anything is the we in me. Why we were so good is that I was focusing on the we in me, and not just me and John, but we as in everybody, who was watching the show, listening to the show. You're Jeff. Boom. Yeah. Dean. Yep. Again, come on, guys, put it in capitals. I can barely read this because this looks interesting. If you can't use your I can't read that word correctly, your opinion is invalid. Well, no opinion is invalid because it's just it's just a opinion, meaning it's really worth nothing. It's just your opinion, right? Now, it can be an interesting opinion or, a moron opinion but it's just your opinion. Filth. Jeff, I don't know what. Thank you for putting it in capitals, Jeff. But you gotta be more. Filth is question. Huh? Didn't even put a punctuation of that. Filth question mark, filth period, or filth dot 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 dot, filth exclamation point, semicolon, colon. It's filth. Well, filth in your colon. Yes. Okay, I got it. See, guru in a garbage bag. Yeah, that's that. Now I think that could sell. Hi, I'm the guru in the garbage bag, and for $9.95, if you call this number now. Let's see. Yes, Master. Yoda, thank you for your wisdom. Well, I try. Yeah, Yoda was my roommate in prep school. In the Jedi Knight prep school. Yeah. Anyway, how many minutes have we been on? 10 minutes. It's been feeling like an hour and a half. So there's 10 of you guys there. Good to see you. Wisdom I have learned here. Drums was not good. That goodbye. Again, I can't even read this. Wisdom I have. Oh, you're being Yoda. Okay, I got it. Wisdom I have learned here, sir, Drums we have not. Good with that. Goodbye. Okay, well, very, very good, Yoda. Yeah, not quite him. It's, Yoda and I were just like Wednesday and her blonde girlfriend, and I was the blonde girlfriend. Or we, that thing with when Paisley or whatever her name is, and Wednesday switch personas. I mean, that was a good one. I like that show, Wednesday. The no-seums are zoning in. Oh yeah, none eye. Yep, that's it. None eye. I like that. I'm using that. I'm using that. None eye. My guy. Yep, that's me. That's my no longer Sensie Owl Bob. Well, Sensie Owl Bob, known as None Eye. You all wrapped up today. It's raining. Yeah, exactly. This is the only guy who got it. This is my raincoat. Now and I live in a rainforest. So when I was just about to come out, it and I waited a second or two, and then it turned into this. I'm out. You can do it. Then it turned into this. Sunny, right? But it'll rain again, right? So if I'm prepared, see, once I stuck this thing over my head, I mean, it was raining hard. And once I put this over my head, it stopped raining. So as long as I wear this, it's not going to, get it? Yes. None eye, my guy. All wrapped up today. It rained. Yeah, buddy, you are it. Nduli. Okay. I'm just going to call you N because my memory for names is slim. Oh, the next person is Slim. Okay, if I'm reading it right. Greek oligarchy. Yes, there we go. That's our founding fathers were so Greek. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? You know what I mean, man? You look like one of the favorable actors, Donald Sutherland. That was me. I got tired of doing it, so I faked my death. But yes, I look like a lot of people, right? Donald Sutherland is one of the people especially back in the day when he was the tank driver. Yeah. Thank you for noticing. You look like Donald Sutherland. Yep, that's me. Use the nun eye. I got to get the eyebrow in there. I am seeing what's to come. All you had to do is watch H.G. Wells' movie, Things to Come. I see it all. I see it all, yes. Donnie and the chuckleheads, they were put there to not destroy, but wreck the normal, wreck the normal, wreck the normal, wreck the normal. Oh, and it'll people know that the Republicans were the liberals and the Democrats were the red dogs. They wore the red hats. They were the red dogs. The Democrats were the red dogs. Oh my God, things switched just like Wednesday and what's her name with the pigtails. Yes, I'm getting carried away. Every time I'm the nun I get carried away. Life is, and they say hell, gotta work to put a smile on. Yeah, it's not hell, more like, it's the Garden of Eden, kids. Just look at it. If that's not hell, but the sound in the background. That's hell, because they're pulling off the top of a mountain to put $40 million homes the size of Lowe's, right, and a golf course, all the way up there by themselves, right? Little do they know this is a rainforest, and by doing that, the winds will tear them up. And the lightning bolts, there's a place over near Blowing Rock, and the same Chuckleheads, the same LLC, built a 30-story concrete condo for rich people, right? And real beautiful golf course underneath. And because, the way they figured it out, we'll put this one big thing, everyone gets a floor, that's their condo. And anyway, and we have these big kind of things all the way around, so you can go out there and look at the beautiful view. Well, the wind is so strong. That thing is maybe 15 years to 20 years old. The wind is so strong. Over 60 people have been blown off their deck, and they're up there on the 20th floor. Whee! They end up, that's in North Carolina over there, and they end up in Cincinnati. A little worse for wear. And that's what's going to happen to rich people. A little worse for wear. Jesus was asked by a rich person, how do I get into heaven? And what did Jesus say? Well, sell all your stuff, give all your riches to the poor. That's what I did. That's why I'm living in a garbage bag, right? And Jesus, I don't have a car, but the last wagon, that was the Jesus wagon. I really loved that little thing. That was such a cute little car. Nissan Quest. It had the sliding doors. It was perfect for me. It's just too bad the engine was dead. It was dead when I bought it. My mechanic said, how many miles you put on this thing? I said 60,000. I had it for a year and a half. He goes, that's a miracle. This engine was dead like 10 years ago. He said, the rods don't even exist in there. The monkeys took over, right? I said, oh, okay. So, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to Dreamy Dreamland with your Sensie Owl Bob, living, in an undisclosed garbage bag. And these are things to come. If you think things are strange right now, it's not even. This is only, 9 months in. He's got 12 times 3. That's, what is 12 times 3? 39 months plus a few more. 40 months. He's got 40. He's only done 9. He's got more than 40 months more. We're going to have nuclear war. That's going to be fun. Yay! Nuclear war! Yes! He's setting it up. Every time I see Putin and Yellow Turd together, that scene from Pulp Fiction when the black guy and what's his name, the motorcycle boy, was put in the basement of these guys who ran a pawn shop, but it was really a sick puppy sex den. And so they dressed those guys up in leather and had the ball in their mouth and tied around their head and the dog chain, and they were torturing them. That's what Putin does to Orange Turd. And Orange Turd, more. And Olive Oil, his wife, who's always in New York, can't still he's like the dead man. He's a walking dead. He's every time I would touch him, part of his skin would come off in my hand. Ooh, and I feel sorry for my son. Oh, he's like 12 feet tall. He's really, I had sex with an alien, and now that poor kid is really has no idea who he is. Oh yeah. There's a story written in the 19th century, like 1890 something, something about Baron Trump, or the Baron, the Kid Baron, and it's pretty strange. Written by the same Nazi who ran or writ, Adolf's book that Adolf didn't write, Mein Kampf, that wasn't written by, Adolf. Adolf can barely use crayons. Look what he did as an artist. Whee. So anyway, guys, left, right is two wings of the same corporate bird, Go read Hope and Tragedy by Dr. What's his name? He was the head interesting guy at the CFR, and his Padawan was a guy who wrote None Dare Call It Conspiracy by, what was his name? It'll pop into my mind. So I knew both those guys pretty well. And there was another guy who wrote a great book called I Was a Hitman for the Corporate Structure, or something like that. He was like an investment banker. I know all these guys from the CFR and the United Nations and a few other places. Life is naturally hell. No, it isn't. Because, you know why it's not? Because life can always be worse. Everyone who was living in the Gaza Strip back in 2020, basically, it was okay. They had schools. I mean, the people in the Gaza Strip were the most college educated. Everyone had a college degree. There were colleges. I mean, they didn't have to pay for it. In America, you have to go in hock. You have to sell your organs to go to college. Back in before 1980, college was free in America, right? The average worker was making a living wage so they could buy a house and a car and a vacation, right? And healthcare was affordable. Blue Cross, Blue Shield, it was affordable. What happened? Trickle-down economy, right? But we've had trickle-down before. Back in 1870, 1880, 1890, we had crashes, each one after the Civil War. Every 10 years we had a crash. And good old J.P. Morgan just made more and more money, along with Mr. Rothschild. They own us all. 72 wasn't an oil embargo. No, we became we became corporate property under Admiralty law. When you get that birth certificate, that's your slave document. Because that's what a birth certificate, that's where a boat goes to dock. A berth. And you go to court. What's a court? It's kind of where they play tennis. It's a game. It's just us. And you're not part of the game. You're not part of the country club. Sorry, kids. Even if you think you are, if you think you're a bank manager, you're a doctor, you're a college professor with tenure, good luck with that, Me, I was a hobbyist. That's what I was. I was an itinerant scholar. I guess I still am. I'm living in a garbage bag. I guess I still am. But I'm wearing my Hawaiian shirt, Okay, let's read some more. What you're saying? I'm sure you've written a ton more. Let's see. Hi. Moose season, yes. Let's hear that moose call. Is that a moose call? Held in contempt. Okay. This message held in contempt. Moose call. And Minnie said hi. Hi, Min. And said, you will be none-eye to me. Okay, thank you. I love that. None-eye. No. It's got to be this. I am none-eye. None-eye. Yes, I am. I can see it all, the past, the present, the future. Oh, it's going to be so much fun. Everyone living in death. Oh, starving to death, eating radioactive crackers. Hell yeah. The blood coming out your pores of your skin and your fingers turning into blags of black blood. I see it. Well, that's a potential thing that could happen tomorrow. It starts out with, basically what happens is Ukrainians still bomb the crap out of Russia's oil pipelines, and Russia ends up not having gas at their gas stations. Or natural gas to put in the heaters in all of those Russian homes or run electricity. Whoops, who knew? And still, the Ukrainians aren't bombing apartment houses and killing people. You know, right now, right this second, there are millions of people in the streets in Moscow. They're pissed off. And this is what always happens to Russian leadership. This, right? So how does Vlad and his oligarchy, his plutocrats, how do they escape from this? Well, Donald is doing what he's reading a script, thinking that he is going to run away to Russia and live on his douche douche tower in Moscow on his golden 747. And not gonna happen because the Russians will eat him alive if he lands. This ain't the place for him. Basically, Putin came to Moscow to to have a butt baby. You go on watch whatchamacallit, South Park, and how the yellow turd is having a butt baby with Satan. Well, you can, whichever way you want to go. Who is Satan? The little one or the big one, right? Big choice, the little one or the big one. Said hi. You will always be. I will always be none-I. Yes, I will. He lives in the trees. Yes. There's somebody held in contempt there. I said hi. Hi to all the ones I love. Hope your glaucoma gets better. Well, glaucoma is an interesting thing. It's a dual-edged sword, right? You can't see things that other people can see, but you can see things that other people can't see, right? So I hope you. So and my I've already had my cataracts taken out, and yeah, I do have glaucoma, and I do have diabetic eyes, but it's Jesus really is. Like I wake up alive and I can see, and I should be in screaming pain, but yeah, things are uncomfortable, but not like ah. No. Here's Johnny. He is fine. He got the none-I home. Yep. Just making sure the bear isn't coming up the steps. We have this teenage bear who's, a month ago, back in the summertime, I think it was still July, and he thought the garbage pail was the Chinese buffet. But I don't have any food, so he couldn't. He came and kind of played with my garbage pail, and I was like, "Stop that! Stop it!" And he looked at me, and he was like, "Huh?" I said, "Come on, you got to go to the other side of town if you want to find some food. Nothing's here." And so he got do, and this person who drove by, a couple of days later, "Were you talking to a bear?" I said, "Yeah." I told him to get lost. I mean, he was like 20 feet from you. He could have killed you. Yeah, but so what? Being nice to him, he left and didn't come back. I could have been nasty. I could have, sprayed him with wasp spray or whatever. But I didn't. That would have just pissed him off. Then he would have killed me. But me going, "Hey, go on, scat." He did. Boop, 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 boop. Please put out large food on Monday. Who said that? Oh, someone in Japanese land. Okay. Oh, buddy. Good old buddy. My buddy. None-I only reads caps. Well, I try to read I read caps easily, and I don't have to lazy. Yeah, Yeah, it's not hard. Don't you just hit the caps button and then write in caps, right? Tin foil hobby. Yep. I was studying tinfoil hats back in the 50s when Tom Terrific was. Any of you guys remember Tom Terrific, the cartoon show? Or Astro Boy? Yeah, I thought I was Astro Boy. I think I still am Astro Boy. Let's see. Santa Claus. No, I'm Santa's younger brother, Bob Claus. Old man. I'm an old, Erp Das, or whatever. And this guy, since so then that place who has palm died, he had wasting water in the shower. Yep, I haven't taken a shower in 5 months. I mean, did cavemen have showers? No. Why you smell like shit is because of what you eat. Since I don't eat anything, I smell pretty good. I mean, I eat burdock and dandelions. When it starts to snow, I'll have to find another diet. By then, I'll find myself a sweet girlfriend. Anyone who wants to come and get me and take a road trip with me, preferably a sweet girlfriend, with a sugar daddy, right? So I can, I can be there as your Sensie Owl Bob. Both of you could be there, sugar daddy and the sweet girl. And I could just be Sensie Owl Bob. We'd be an amazing threesome. And you think, John and I were funny. Woo, that would be hilarious. I love your blondies. Okay. More strings to say fool like a wizard. Okay, that's good. You got the blue eyes. Yes, I've always had blue eyes. And they're kind of cool, but the thing about blue eyes is your eyes are unbelievably sensitive to light, and mine have always been. It's like, and my eyes are always, they never shut down, so that's one reason my eyes are so messed up. They've been burned. That's why I have to wear like welder's glasses all the time when it's sunny. And the worst time for me is when it's a sunny day here in the mountains and I'm driving and the sun is going behind the hills, and then it's dark, it's darkish, but the sky is still blue, and then I come around and the sun hits me right in the face, and then I'm blind for like, a minute or two. And it's never good driving on a windy road when you're blind. Let's see. Got, yes, please. Do none I am the royal blue eyes. I am the king of the world. I pull the strings of all the morons, all the chuckleheads, all the orange turds. And there's not only one orange turd. There are many orange turds. Ooh, ooh, ooh. And it's not even a full moon. Are you wearing a garbage bag? Yes, I'm wearing a garbage bag. Yes, I am. Yeah, dude. Live in the trees. Totally on the same page. Yep. I mean, this is great. 300 days of the year. 60 days is a little tough. Like last winter, for a month, like half of February and half of March, it was 20 degrees below zero here during the day. And at night, it was cold. And I had to go, scoop up all the pokey folk and get them to live in the community center. And no one wanted them. They can't be there to steal all the stuff. I said, they can't steal anything. It was given to us. They can take it. I'm the only one who says that. Everyone is, they're stealing the stuff. Yes, I'm wearing it as a raincoat. Also, it's a fashion statement. It's more a fashion statement, but it's a good raincoat. And living in a rainforest, it can be sunny. It was like sunny just 10 minutes ago. Now the dark clouds are rolling by. It's aluminum foil, it seems like multi-purpose. Yes, it has also helped to cover some food and yep, exactly. I am good boy this year. Good. That we get back to sin, right? There's a sin of omission and commission. Now, the sin of commission is just because we're chuckleheads. We're cheeky monkeys. We do all this stupid stuff. We have no idea because we aren't in conscious intent with love's co-creation. When you're in communication with God, you're not really sinning. God's always saying, well, what do you think of that? Oh, like, when I worked in the corporate world, as a consultant, right? And I was basically their wizard. I got them out. They would paint themselves into corners and I get them out, right? So they paid me ridiculous amounts of money for working I worked 11 weeks a year and made more money than most people do, right? That was it. And they paid, I didn't have to pay for anything. They paid for the hotel, the travel, the food, everything, right? And then after I succeeded getting them out of that corner so they didn't go to jail or lose their license or have to pay a fine of billions of dollars, they liked my company so much. They would let me stay in that 10-star hotel for another month or two or three. Right? Oh, it's cold where you live. Stay there so long. Man, let's go to the titty bar this afternoon. We had to go to court. And they would take me to, whenever they took me to court, that was just an extra, right? So they pay me $1,000 to just go to court and look at everyone, right? Look at the people who were going to, that little project where you pick the jury, there's a Latin name for that. Anyway, and there's another thing whenever people are suing each other, the lawyers can ask them questions under, I swear to tell the truth, and not to gals, but, interview them under oath. There's a D word for that. Anyway, I'd be in a room, right, with the people who were paying me, right? But they would take me and do this for other cases where they would pay me just $1,000 to be in that room for 2 or 3 hours. And I would draw pictures, and then I would talk to the pretty legal aid woman, and I would tell them stories about the pictures, and they would write out the legal terms, and then we'd work out the strategy, and we give it to the chucklehead lawyer. $1,000 for 2 or 3 hours, and they'd take me to breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and put me in a hotel for another 3 weeks, or take me down to the Keys and put me in a nicer hotel, or even further down the Keys to their palatial, gorgeous house right on the water, the Atlantic or the Intercoastal, and the captain in their yacht would take me to the Caribbean. I did that for almost 10 years. Why do you think I gained almost 300 pounds? Because I wasn't lugging a bag of tools, I wasn't wiring things, I wasn't fixing things. I was just having a lot of fun. And talking to God all the time, I kept saying, so is this a sin, living this way, this total hedonistic? He goes, no. I mean, look what you did the other day when the captain stopped off at Miami to fill up with fuel and provisions to take you to the Caribbean. What'd you do? You went for a little walk, and you found all these homeless people, and you took, a bunch of them on board. And because none of the corporate folk were there, you let them sleep in the galleys and the big fancy rooms, and they wore other people's clothes, and you took them to the Caribbean, and half of them stayed there because it was a lot nicer than living under I-95, and so that's you keep doing stuff like that. And and the captain of the boat, instead of him freaking out, he basically said, listen, when I was a kid, I came from a poor part in Ozarks, right? And that's kind of like the middle of the country version of the Appalachian, the Ozarks. And he goes, we had no toilet, we had just like these poor people, and my I had some skill sets. I joined the Navy. I learned things. Here I am, the captain of a multi-zillion-dollar yacht, right? But my brother, no, he's homeless. My mother died in poverty, So you did this? My boss said, do whatever Al Bob says. So I'm doing it. So anyway, all those years I would do stuff like that, right? And I just had more fun than a barrel of monkeys. And God, loves co-creation, just says, I love you, buddy. You are just so entertaining, right? So whatever you're doing, religious people would call it the sin of commission, meaning I'm doing this crazy stuff and having loads of fun, and I'm not really, And afterwards, I asked God, was that a sin? It was. I mean, I didn't hurt anybody. Everyone seemed to be happy. Um, you know, you got any notes? I'll take notes. Love's co-creation. Tell me how I should do it a little different, and I would get no, you're doing fine. But there's always a but, right? With me, there's always been a but. But there's a cost for everything. I said, what cost? I'm not paying for anything. I mean, my clients are paying for it. He goes, that's what I'm saying. There's a cost for everything. So that's why I died in 2014, because I would still be doing that now. What other moron wouldn't be doing that now in the world that we live in? But God, he said, okay, that was fun, but, you've got to die, and you're going to see, what purgatory is like. If you choose it, it's yours, And purgatory was in the basement cafeteria of Hitler's Rifle Squad, which was HRS, Holy Redeemer School. That's where, I got the nun eye. And those nuns were they were Nazis. They came in off the rat line through paperclip, and then they put them all, even guys, they dressed up like nuns. And they tortured the kids. And that was like a satanic kind of thing, energetic. I don't know. I didn't, I saw it, but I studied it a little bit. But then they murdered me for doing that. And I was only, how old are you in first grade? You're probably 7, 8, 7 probably. Anyway. What? 10 thumbs up. Thank you. And anyone wants to get a hold of me to speak mano y mano, that's the dude awake 42 at Gmail. Write it down, right? And I have a whatchamacallit, PayPal, that's what it's called. But when I haven't used it no one sent me anything for months and months, so I haven't used it at all. And so then I have to know what my code is, right? And it's like, if I don't, I have to go through changes. It's just, I hate the digital. I don't hate anything, but I am digitally and bureaucratically challenged, right? So anyway, but any of you rich folk who want a lot of fun, come and get me. I don't need to be here for the winter, right? And we can go down to your house down in Boca and have a really good time. I know a lot of people in Florida, right? I know a lot of the New Age crowd. I don't know if they're still there, if there even is a New Age crowd anymore. But in Florida, there was a really great one in the O's. We did some really great things. I have a couple of photo books of them. And if you go, meaning all the photos I ever took, right, I have shown on this show. Dreamy Dreamland with Sensie Owl Bob, me, your Korea, right? And if you go back and look at the past shows, you can see all the videos, all the photos, all the stories that I've told for the last 10 years, right? So go on. It's just, they're all there. Just go to my channel, Dreamy Dreamland with Sensie Owl Bob. Bang, you go there on YouTube. And then it says videos. You go that, and then they're all there. And all you have to do is put your finger on the thing and go like this, and it goes blub, 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 blub. Then you can hit that one and look at it for about a minute. And if it's interesting, keep watching it another minute. And you like the story, you can watch it as long as you want. You don't like it, you can stop it and put your finger on the thing and go whoop, and go blah, 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 blah. Watch that one, right? And that's usually the blah, 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 is usually about a week or two worth of blah, 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 blah. So to do that for 7 years, that's a lot of blub 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 blub. Right. So, but or you can just put your finger on the thing and go all the way to the beginning, and that's the first one. You know you're at the beginning when you see me, and I look a lot younger. 10 years ago, I look a lot younger, and but I looked worse because I was, that was 2015, 16, around there, and I just got this thing phone. I bought another phone because Johnny and I were doing things, and he had total control. So I wanted to, YouTube, whatever. I don't. In reality, back in '93, it was when I was in Asheville. There was a girl who was the mama of the internet, right? She was a librarian. Computers only became what they are because of librarians. They're the people who really brought it into the curriculum, right? And she was amazing. And there was a trio of us, her and this other guy who's he was like, what's his name? Mr. Apple's Wozniak or whatever that kid's name was, who was the the real genius, right? Steve was just a good salesman. Anyway, see how it looks really kind of charming and fashionable when it's this way instead of over my head. Anyway, so she was, and so we had, and actually you could rent anything for nothing, right? Or you could buy a house, a really nice house in Asheville in the 90s, especially early 90s, for like 10 grand. And interest rates were pretty low. So anyway, so we did all kinds of stuff on the internet. And when they had like message boards, they had no kind of anything, right? Well, the World Wide Web popped in there, and we basically, the guy figured out how to do a YouTube. And we called ourselves UTV. And we just kept doing crazy things in the basement. And no one would do what you guys are doing. There was no contrary. We had no feedback. So we did it for a while. And this guy was so smart. You know what he did? One night he was doing meth and acid at the same time and smoking some good Sheba. And he basically went through the industrial phone book and took every corporation's name and put it and the guys who had .com, right? And so, like, General Motors.com, Ford Motors.com, Pepsi Cola.com. Before those guys even thought about being on the internet, he took all that real estate. Anyway, so we were doing the YouTube thing, and he just kept a little more acid, a little more speed, and some good Sheba, and some of that mountain boy shine, and he just would spend nights and nights and nights. And he was a nurse. So to think, him and his wife were a nurse. Anyway, at some point, and I think her father was a lawyer, at some point, the corporate guys realized what he was doing and tried to sue him. And her father was a lawyer enough to keep them at bay. And then she got sick. And they, were just staying alive by them both working. They had a bunch of kids and a farm. And basically, Dad negotiated a deal with whatever, GoDaddy or whoever took it up, and they got a lot of Chiba for a lot of cheese for that, and they just disappeared. So no more UTV because we weren't he had a server. He like in the basement. We came in, all the servers were gone, everything was gone, and it was an empty garage with cardboard sets. And the librarian, she went back to her little apartment, and she just fell into the internet. And she never came out. I would go by, and she and I were buds. I'd take her out dancing and stuff, and no, I'd come up to her, walk up to her little place, and I see the window and the blue light of the screen. And she had tons of screens. She was running tons of platforms at a time. And that's when I knew, the oncoming internet and social media. And so she was the queen of social media, right? So anyway, what are you guys saying? Ha ha ha. You, let's see. All right. Hello from Scotland. Hello, Robert in Scotland. Good to see you, bud. How's Scotland today in the afternoon? Or it's probably getting on towards night. No, dear. I'm from India. It's beautiful. Okay, India is beautiful. The thing about India is that most of it is like way out in the middle of the woods. Where are all the billion people? They're in those major cities, and they're like stacked them like cordwood. And that's where you can see the class structure of India. And that's when you go, And they had that way before the English even showed up. That's why they were so willing to be slaves to England. You've been through a lot, haven't you? Yep, and that's what life's supposed to be, being through a lot. That's why I'm God's doula. Love's co-creation's doula, meaning slave. Whatever love's co-creation tell me to do, I dive in the pool. Chile, like you usually have been through a lot. Yep. But it's more fun being through. I mean, yes, I've had hundreds, plural of hundreds, of people I've truly, truly loved die. When the AIDS thing in the 70s and 80s was a blast, and I was Mr. Disco, Mr. Theater, Mr. Art, I lost hundreds of friends. And no one would see them. They were all scared. Oh, I'll get it. I would go to the hospital, right? I'd go to John Hopkins, right? I get people in there because they were doing the research on what it was, right? And they almost hired me. They had a buddy, and she was the biggest Chiba dealer in New York, and she delivered by pizza. And these people were suffering so bad that they let her show up with the pizza box and the Chiba and Chiba pizza just so these people would eat something, right? Yes, pretty much. Americans don't realize that very soon they're going to be living under the dead highway. Go watch the movie Zardos, right, with Sean Connery, made in the 70s, early 80s. Look at all his films made around that. And when he quit being James Bond, he made a bunch like Men Who Would Be King, Time Bandits, a whole bunch of really interesting films. And a couple of them by Terry Gilliam, right? And that goes along with Brazil. All those movies, like end of 70s through the early 80s, up until 80 whatever. There's some pretty amazing films. So go watch Zardos if you want to see what's going on, what's coming next. Here comes the kid. He just rides around on that thing. And he's taken off all the guards, right? So he burns himself all the time because he says it makes him go faster. And that's where the asbestos is. So, he's like, I don't know, somewhere between 17 and 21, breathing that kind of asbestos, and he's spreading it all around here, right? Well, I'm old enough that it doesn't matter. But all the kids that he hangs out with, not going to be pretty. Dying of asbestos. Ooh, I've seen that too. In West Virginia, right? They call it black lung. But the really nasty of it is like now that the coal is hardly there anymore, they have to cut through these, quartz seams. And it's like, dust is like, it's got asbestos in it and it's like razor blades. Good old corporate. So that is what fascism, right there is what's fascism, right? So I've been all around the world, I mean, everywhere you can imagine, especially when I was living in Sweden and I could just. On any aircraft. Sweden gave everyone a free 2 week vacation, right? And not only like 2 weeks off from work, and not only paying your salary, but and your bills, but they put you on an airplane, fly anywhere in the world, because Swedes were like neutral. So I was living in Sweden, and I had a Swedish driver's license that looked like a passport. Came in a book, had my picture, had all the Swedish writing all over it, and right, and I just started using it. I would go to Stockholm, and every day there was a flight somewhere or two or three, and they had a board, and people would sign up for a vacation to go to Iran or Afghanistan or go to Iraq or go to Syria or go to France or go to Japan or anywhere, right? And they would go as a tour, like 20 to 100 people, and we'd stay at a thing and eat Swedish food. But you'd be there for 2 weeks, and you'd get a visa. So you go up to the airport, and there's the desk where that is, and you'd say, okay, so what flights you got in the next 40 minutes? And the lady would look back there, and she'd go, well, you got a choice of those. And you'd go, oh, I'd love to go to Paris. Not a problem. Here you go. Sign this, okay. Show me and I show them the American passport and my driver's license, right? And so she goes, fine. And she would give me a visa from whatever country it was. And she'd stamp it like 6 times with Swedish stamps, and I would sign it. And then she'd give me the airplane ticket, all free. She'd go to gate 6 in about an hour and a half, and I'd go up, and they had you just take the escalator up. Wasn't it funny at the UN, they made Donald Trump walk up a escalator that didn't work? I loved it. I love me, my Donald Trump. I love it. He's such a chump. I'm pretty sure he doesn't realize that he's been put in that place, that he is, when he signed on for The Apprentice, right? That first opening scene where he's on top of Trump Tower and they got it looks like he's God, right? He is that chumpian God. He is that, omission God, Omission, the sin of omission is when I hate God. I don't believe him. Get away from me. I don't want to know you. No, that's the sin of omission. That's the one sin you can't forgive. And in Bible studies, I was going on about that, about how, and we were studying this one lesson. And when I took the lesson before the guy whose teacher was that, it's in Mark, and it's where Jesus goes to the rich guy's house, and there's all these other rich people who have their family who are like blind and got leprosy and can't walk and and are dead. They brought the corpse, and so Jesus heals them all, brings them back to life, and the Pharisees are there. Oh, you're Satan. And Jesus goes, well, you guys are chuckleheads. If I was Satan, and these guys, and you saying they're all possessed, being blind and leprosy, that's all because they're evil demons. Why would I heal them and bring them back into the God side of things? Why would I, if I was Satan, why would I do that? And they're going, you say you're God. Jesus goes, no, I never said that. You said that, not me. But, right? And then the rich guy said, see you, at the bank. I'll give you some money. Just get out of here. Anyway, so that was the lesson. The sin of omission, commission, right? So I was, I said, shouldn't we start this lesson off with a prayer? And they said, oh yeah, a prayer. Yeah, because normally we started off with a prayer. And so because he just went straight into it, because he had such wood for being there and teaching the class, because this guy didn't do that. And he had all this stuff, and he tried to get it out of him. And I said, don't we need to have a prayer? And so he goes, oh, yeah. So he's about to, hey, minister. And the minister was like running out the door. He didn't want to be there for this. because the minister he owns a contracting business. The only reason why they made a minister because he has some money and some power and knows people, right? So they want the church to be prestigious. He has zip about theologic understanding of anything, but he's not a bad guy. He has a really bad temper, though. If he lets that go, it's like, oh. And so he tries to hold it in. You can't let it in because it's a sin, meaning why he's angry is because he hates himself. Any kind of anger you have is coming from self-hate. The people who hate people, they hate themselves the worst, right? So anyway, the guy goes, oh yeah, prayer. So he's going to ask, he's looking around, and I said, praise God, praise Jesus. And everyone goes, oh yes, praise God, praise Jesus. And then I say, and bless the other. And he goes, the other? Who? What's the other? And I said, glad you asked. The other is your brother, sister from another mother in the crosshairs of a cultural war. Just like this lesson from Mark about the rich guys and the dead guys and the sick guys and the Pharisee and Jesus healing them all. And he goes, well, we don't have time for that. And this one woman says, but that's the lesson we're supposed to be studying. He's talking about it. And he goes, well, anyone else have a question? Because he wants me to shut up. And because I'm talking about the sin of omission and commission. And he's, anyone else have a question? And so, because he described the sin of, at least I described it as, commission is you're a chucklehead, you do these sins, you're not really knowing that you're committing it. And it's like from the Old Testament, just read all those guys from, especially Psalms. It goes on and on about that. And he goes, oh yeah, Psalms. And anyone else have a question? And omission. And he goes, but the sin of omission is the worst. You can't be forgiven for it. And that's when you tell God to get lost. You don't believe in him. And then the lady brought back, but what if you change your mind and you believe in God? How could God not forgive you if you believe in God? And he says, but it's a sin of omission. You can't be forgiven for it. Once you do it, you're lost. But how can God? And then the lady just went on and on. But how? God's loving and forgiving. We're his children. Of course he would forgive. No, it's a sin of, and that was it. They went down the rabbit hole. And that is religion, kids. That's what religion is about. The Pharisees were lawyers of the word. Jesus he said, listen, God gave you guys 10 commandments. Before Moses, you were just chucklehounds out in the wind. That's why he kept dissing people, pissing them off, and then they'd come and conquer you and burn your town down. And then you'd be a slave, but not a bad slave. You weren't cleaning toilets. You were like accountants and lawyers and stuff, right? They knew the value of who you were. And all you Hebrew girls were hot. Oh, you Hebrew girls were hot. You just read, and in the beginning, we Elohim, we the, what do they call those guys? The big, tall, giant guys, alien guys. It'll pop into mind. But they went down and kind of did it with the human monkeys. That's the Hebrew girls. Hebrew girls. I had some really wild, crazy Hebrew girlfriends. And when I was in Lubavitcher studying to be a rabbi, whoa, baby. Living the good life. Living the good life is serving God's unconditional love. Living the good life is following Jesus's example of unconditional forgiveness. That's living the good life. Doesn't matter how much money you got, what kind of car. I have no car. Normally, I have no car. I mean, I really didn't get a driver's license till I was in my 40s. If I would get a car from my buddy who, in New York City, he was in charge of the pound for cars. Where you pick your car up for parking infractions, and they take it out to this big. It was on the Hudson, this big thing where boats back in the day would tie up. And this thing was like, a mile and a half long and as wide as a football field. You could stick like 20,000 cars on this thing. And he was in charge of that. The tow trucks would come. He'd, put them in slot 32. He'd take a picture of it and, take all the information down, put it in the computer. And if you didn't show up or contact the folk within 2 months, I guess, they would put it on auction. And he had another, that was owned by the city, that wharf, but he had another one that it was covered, right? And it's 2 miles long and as wide as a football field. If you've ever seen a tobacco barn, it was like 10 times as big as a tobacco barn. Where they have in town, where they have the auction, right? That tobacco barn, not the one in your house. Anyway, so he would buy that car because he was in charge of the auction. He said, well, no one's auctioning, right? No one's here to auction. I put it out there in the wanted things in like, like 10-cent advertisement, things that big. It's like on page 300 of the New York Post. And no one showed up, so he would just pick and choose which cars. Well, he'd take them all, or he'd take all the ones that were really good, and he'd put them over there, right? And then he would put it in a computer, and he had a LLC, and the LLC would get the title to that, and then he'd sell those cars, right? He had flags and balloons, and he was. But anyway, he was my bud, so I would go over there, and he goes. On this side over here, from here to L, you pick any vehicle you want, $200. That's the $200 cars. I mean, that's like the wholesale price. If you were a chump, I'd probably charge you, $300 to $1,000. Anyway, so I go pick something out, and usually something like a station wagon or convertible. And usually a small car, like a Comet, right? I loved Comets. They were just, and they had great convertibles, right? It was great. I would park it anywhere, and if it wasn't going to rain, I would leave the thing down because no one would rob it. They wouldn't break in. They would just look around, push stuff around. Nothing was in there they wanted. It's like when I lived in the Lower East Side way back in the day, before the 70s, like in the 60s, when it was just changing from being the Five Corners to being Alphabet City. I had a lot of cars. And also, the junkies would break into my place. And by the third time they broke in, and they'd break the door down. They didn't have any finesse. And by the third time, I said, screw it. I didn't even put a door up. I just painted everything I had there orange, the day-glow orange for contractors, right? And I go down to 2nd Avenue where the junkies would sell this stuff, and I said, that's mine, that's mine, that's mine, that's mine, that's mine. Here's $10, bring it back to my place. And after the third time, they stopped doing it. Let's see. It's called a Joke Bro Z. Well, kids, what do I say every time I start the show? Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to Dreamy Dreamland with your Sensie Owl Bob, this guy, your griot, who tells you stories that gives you insight. Here's he coming again. Poor kid. I mean, it'd be much better for him if he read a book than doing that. But he's at least not as annoying as the little ones were with their little dirt bikes, because they would just go round and round and circle, right? And until, their parents weren't too, they hid the thing, and because this is not a safe place, really, so he just turned around and came back. Oh, no, he's going away. No, he's turning around. Anyway. So, what do I say? It's a story, right? And don't believe a word I say. Right? Now, what is a story based on? Like the Greeks was based on fact, and they filled it in, right? Ooh, thunder's coming. Might rain hard, relatively soon. How much juice do I still have almost half a thing. You know what? I've been doing this now for 79 minutes and 32 seconds. How much? Ooh, boy, you guys have. I'm going to start at the bottom and read forward. Carlos, I used a good story. Gandalf said hi. Let's see. Refuse God and Jesus, that's the sin against the Holy Spirit. Right, exactly. The sin of omission. But if you, through your life experience, born again, find love in your heart where God is, because He never leaves you. No matter what you do, God is always in your spirit. Because that's spirit. Let's see. To see, hear, mocking the Holy Spirit is unforgivable. Yes, mocking. What is the word mocking, right? What is the word mocking? You know what the word mocking is? Putting your ego in front of God's love. That's mocking. So, you can be a chucklehead, and, I serve at the will. I am love's co-creation's doula. So, who's the guy who's going on about, okay. So that's N. I'm glad you just have a letter. It makes it so much easier. So N, you're right on, but I'm not mocking anything. I don't mock anybody or anything. I'm just a chucklehead, a cheeky monkey, here serving God's love. December already, yep. Yeah. This place is actually nice. I would not go to Florida until after the 10th of December, right? And I would drive, get on 26, take that to Charlotte, take that to, whatchamacallit, 95, get on 95, zip down to right on the border of Florida and Georgia, where Jekyll Island is, where all the nastiness, where the Federal Reserve was started, where Rockefeller and J.P. Morgan, it was an island, and you could only get there by your big boat. And then in the 60s, everything went bankrupt, and so the state of Georgia took it over and turned it into a tourist site, and they did a very nice job. And so one time, I pulled in, it's like getting dark, and Jekyll Island. It's a big hotel. Okay, so I'll go there. I went there, and it was really nice island. Golf course and all this great stuff, and convention center, and all these nice houses and nice restaurants along. They had a boardwalk all the way around the whole friggin' island, and a big Jekyll Island place where there's the Rockefeller House and the J.P. Morgan House that are now part of the big hotel. That was their big country club. I went in there, and it was the 10th of December. There was no one there. That was like their null point. I mean, people were there for the summer and the fall, and then around November, people didn't show up. And then after January, they started showing up. The Canadians would show up like mid-January all the way to May, right? So anyway, there was nobody there, And I basically went into the big fancy hotel, and I said, so, this is nice. So you got a room? I said, any room you want. I said, ooh, is your dining room open? Yep, dining room's open. The pool is open. Everything's open. Nobody's here. But we're run by the state. So we're a nonprofit, so we're not really worrying about profit. This is a while ago. And I said, oh, how nice. And I said, sure. So what room would you, he said, the presidential suite. You look pretty presidential to me. Ooh, more thunder. Ooh, can you hear that? It's rolling in pretty fast. And Motorcycle Boy is I feel sorry for those kids. They can't even, he's going to go up there somewhere and it'll start to wrench because this is a rainforest. It's done rain until it's like buckets coming down. Anyway, and I'm here under the wood. So anyway, Jekyll Island. So I went there, and I had a really great time. And I was like working, so I had some serious finance, as I said, I had some cheddar in my pocket. So the key to any restaurant, if you're going to be a regular, you give the people who work there, because they're not making anything, especially since there was nobody there. I was giving people $10 and $20 tips, like for a buffet for breakfast. That they brought me my coffee, and and so man, everyone wanted to be serving me, and so anyway, I enjoyed it, and I wasn't going to get down into Florida until around Christmas. Go hang with my parents for Christmas. There he goes back again. Like I said, he's going to get out there, and I know so I'm about 200 feet above where he is, and maybe, I can smell it a little bit. His exhaust. Where's he? Oh, he's going behind. So he's going to his buddies over by the lake. So he's going to get out there, and the sun is now coming up on the other side. That means it's heating that storm that's over there up, superheating it. So that thunderstorm, whenever it cracks, is going to be serious. And that's why I brought this along, because I can recharge. I'm going to have to say goodbye in a little bit and recharge, but I'll keep telling you the Jekyll Island story. So anyway, I went there, right? And so I had from like the 10th to the 25th to enjoy Jekyll Island, because it was like, the guy said, well, if you get a package and it's off season, you can have the presidential suite for $15 a night. And you have to be here 2 weeks. And that's why I stayed there 2 weeks, right? Be there 2 weeks, and you get 3 meals a day, and you can go to the coffee shop all you want, and we now have, instead of keys, we have these little cardie things. I said, oh, that's how nice. And you use a little cardie thing everywhere. You go to the coffee shop, you just slide the cardie thing. You go to the restaurants, you go slide that. You go to the store to get clothes, slide, and you get 10, you only have to pay 10% of whatever items on sale. Whatever that sale price is, you only have to pay 10%. I mean, this was amazing. This is what rich people get. Rich people think they deserve that. They're entitled. So anyway, but I'm Santa Claus's brother, and so I am entitled. And so anyway, that was my first year there, and I loved it. So I was there 2 weeks. So after the third day of being in the pool that was warm, and so I went around the island and stopped at different restaurants, different stores, different places, and I stopped at this. So this place was on the intercoastal side, and everything on the other side of Jekyll Island was on the Atlantic side. So whatever bad weather, that side kind of got it. So I kind of was driving around in this one place, and it's like there is this really interesting, it looks something between a tiki bar and an IHOP. Can you envision that in your, And so, and it said open, right? So I go in there, and it's open. And, but right next, in that same parking lot, there's this big, beautiful hotel with a big, beautiful swimming pool and a nice little putting, like almost putt-putt, but real, a golf course, 9-hole putt, has 9 holes. So you're not knocking it off with the thing, you're putting through the 9 holes. Anyway, so this all looks, and it has bicycles, and anyway, I go in there, and I go into the tiki bar place, and it's also where the main desk for the hotel is, right? So I go in there, and I say, so you got any rooms? And she goes, oh, we have a few, but we're remodeling. I said, oh, how nice. And I said, so what are you remodeling? She goes, oh, everything. I mean, this place was built in 1960, and it was the top notch. Now it's, 2000, and and 3, and so we're bringing it up to snuff. I thought that's so nice, and I goes and so you said you had a couple rooms. It's, well, we have a separate kind of thing over near the yacht club where there are these like oh bungalows. You can rent those. I said, how much are those? Well, this is the off season. How much are they? She goes, well, $30 a night, and if you stay the week, 150. I said, whoa. Does that include breakfast and lunch and dinner? She goes, well, it includes breakfast, and if you stay there for a week, your meals are not that expensive, right? And it's not really, you know, yes, it's almost free. $50. So I go, well, sign me up. And she sees that I have this on my key ring. I have the card for, she goes, but aren't you staying at, I said, yeah, but for nothing. I mean, you guys look fun. They're fun too, but it's nice to have a change. She goes, well, that's quite interesting. And so she goes, here, get in the golf cart. Now, let me take you down to the yacht club. And so we go down to the yacht club, and these things were really nice because they were, they had 2 pools. The pool for these little houses, cubanas or whatever you want to call them, and the back, take this little path, and there was another like bar, a little tiki bar, and there was the big pool, and there was tennis courts, right? And over there were the putt-putts, right? And so I said, boy, this looks real fun. Anyway, so I say, fine, okay, sign me up. So, I have, I said, where are you? Oh, we're still at breakfast. So let me have breakfast. And they were still kind of an IHOP, right? So they had the IHOP thing. So if you can imagine the inside, do you remember the ancient IHOPs that looked like, a Swiss chalet? Well, it was a Swiss chalet made out of, tiki bar stuff. But anyway, so I have breakfast, and that's not as good as the rich people place, but okay, right? Not bad, right? And then I go for a swim in the pool, and this pool was far better than the rich people because the rich people place still had the 1928 pool there, It's an Olympic-sized swimming pool, and this thing had little spots that had jacuzzis and hot water and regular water. It was just, ooh. And it was like if you were hanging out at the tiki bar, you could just walk outside, and half that pool, they had lights. They had no lights around, but they had lights in the pool, and they only had 2, and it was an L-shaped. So this corner over here of the L-shape where the jacuzzi seats were, you could, take your clothes off, and they had a really nice, easy, if you were really drunk, they didn't have a ladder, you had to dive in. They had, a staircase with a nice handle, and you could easily get into that pool. So you take your clothes off with whatever barfly you just met, and go in that the dark side of the pool, and look at the stars because they had no lights. So you could really, from the pool, you could just float, and if you're in the dark side, you could look at it was like, so everyone kind of heard on the island, there's this, Santa's younger brother, Bob Claus, and he reads your palms, and he has cards, and he has all kinds of other things in his little bag, and he'll give you a reading. And so, that instead of the, 10th to the 25th, that's 15 days, I was there almost 3 weeks. So I called my parents up on Christmas, said, hey, I'm going to make it for New Year's. And I didn't. I stayed there for New Year's, too. So I kind of left about, 2 weeks into the new year. And my parents didn't care, They were still bopping around, and they really didn't need me, but they liked the fact that I was there, and I could take them to the doctors and do stuff and make them have fun doing things. Because that was my deal with my parents, Back in the 80s, when my parents, had the War of the Roses with my brothers and sisters over the family biz, and my older sister became the Iron Maiden, my brother became Stalin, and my younger sisters became, fuck you, I'm out of here. And they went off, they followed me. I never had anything to do with the family business. My dad said, you have to work for me. I said, no, I don't. You're my father. You're not my dad. I mean, you're not my boss. And I have my own lifestyle. My brother, you made your own choices. And I'm right. My brother's totally want to even go there. My sisters hate his guts, but I shared a bedroom with them. Ooh, it's starting to rain, and the kid's out there. If it really starts to pour, and he never learns. Never freaking learns. Anyway, can you hear the rain? Here it comes. Now, depending on how hot the sun got, and because it's still sunny over there, how much is heating that big black cloud up is how intense this storm's going to be. We might even have like tornado right in front of us, which would be fun. Live from the deep green, things to come. That's where we are. That's what the name of the show is, Things to Come. So anyway, that's when I learned about Jekyll Island, right? And I stayed there like almost a month and a half. And there was nobody else there. And I went to every store, talked to everybody, the people in the post office, the convention center, the historians. I went out and played golf. I said, listen, guys, I'm also at that other hotel. There were a few rich people in the rich people place. They stayed there all the time. And, that's where they were retired. They had a house on the island. And so they would, and they, because of that, and they couldn't own it. And so they paid X amount of money and put X amount of money into the nonprofit fund. It was maybe like a condo, right? So anyway, and those people were fun and interesting and nice, and there were a bunch of Canadians who lived there. Anyway, so I would play golf with them, but I wouldn't hit the ball hard. I wouldn't chip. I wouldn't, basically, wherever they got the closest, I would just let them drop a ball, not in a sand trap, and then I would chip onto the thing. And I wasn't playing to win. I was just to play with them. So I would chip onto the green, and then I would putt, right? So that's how I played golf. And they thought it was fun, right? They didn't do it because they liked the competition of who's going to win and all of the above. So I did that with those guys. And there were some guys there who were really, really, not the top of the pyramid, but right around here, like a little bit above Donald Trump, right? And they knew what was going on. And we would have these, it was called the Boys Club, right? Because that's what J.P. Morgan and those guys, they had this in the big fancy hotel. They had this place, they had nightclubs, they had all kinds, and they had this where men smoked cigars and pipes and had billiard tables, not pool tables, billiard tables. And over there was a library, and over there was where the, men would get relieved by the, what I'm saying. Fornication! What are you guys saying here? I have on DVD. Oh, you have Zardoz on TV. Right. So what do you think of Zardoz? What is this person? Have you watched it? You got to watch it because they have AI ruling over all the rich people. How the rich people have become transhuman. When was the movie Zardoz made? I think 80 something or 70 something. Anyway, but it pegs right now, right? So what else are you guys saying? Nothing to see here. Working, the Holy Spirit is unforgivable. Actually, yes. Nothing to see here. Is that your name? Yeah, I guess that's your name. Mocking. See, that's, again, we get to the word mocking. What is... So, N, nothing to see here. I love that name. And I'm with you, mocking. So I would say all the chuckleheads, who think they're, Elon, Neon Husk, Tiny Penis Boy, Faceless Boy, they're all mocking the spirit, right? Now, when I'm a chucklehead, when I'm a cheeky monkey boy, I'm not mocking anyone, actually, because basically what the orange shirt is doing, everything is scripted. But these morons don't realize, they think their boss above them is scripting this shit. The hidden hand or Satan or whatever. And they've all signed on for that, right? No. And this is another thing, last time at church or the time before, when I was saying, the guy who was just Wood for showing us how much he memorized the Bible, he wanted to know what was sin. Or no, what sin was. And I want you to chime in on this one. I'm going to the end here. And I said sin was given to us by God as a tool. Because if we didn't sin, we wouldn't know what we were doing was good or bad. And that's why we ate the fruit in the first place, to know the truth about good and bad. And to sin was to basically have a tool that we could measure ourselves up to what loves co-creation, which is the covenant, right? And that we could understand that covenant. So, yep, the boy's out in the motorcycle in this. And so this rain is either going to get really hard, like torrential, for the next 10 minutes, or in about a minute, it will ease up and go the other way. It depends on which way that big black cloud comes. So anyway, sin is a tool. So we do something stupid, we sin. And then, if we're connected to love's co-creation, we feel bad about that. And then we talk to God about it. God, is this a sin? God and your spirit will infer into your conscious mind what the story is. And you go, oh, okay, well, I feel bad about that, and please forgive me, And that's what I say about 20 times a day. Lord, please help me out here. I don't have a clue. Take the wheel from my hand, drive the car. I am your doula. Praise God, praise Jesus. I say that about 40 times a day. We got one that can see. Well, I don't know anything. I just am consciously intent to follow Jesus's teachings and example, to always ask for forgiveness and to give forgiveness. I mean, I see stuff and I get, and then I go, no. Jesus wouldn't like that. Okay. So, Jesus, let's have a talk here. So, why am I feeling this way? See, and I do this before I even get mad. So, why am I feeling this way? What's going on? Let's deconstruct this. And Jesus, good idea, Al. Let's deconstruct this. That's why you're a psychosocial, cultural, forensic anthropologist. And I gave you all those degrees. I know, Jesus. That's why they're special degrees, right? So, who is my Birmingham? Is that Johnny Boy? Hey, Johnny Boy, if that's you, howdy. Howdy ho. Let's see. Carlos? Nice. Whoa. Santa Claus on camera. No, Santa's younger brother, Bob. Anyway, so there I was in Jekyll Island, and it was great. It was so nice, so sweet, so yum. And went around and met everyone, and you're one of us, right? So middle of January, it was time, because it was getting a little nippy. Could no longer just, it was still warm during the days, but you needed that fireplace to toast you up at night. And even though at that hotel, the L swimming pool was super heated, you could go swimming there in February when it was like 50 degrees. Normally you wouldn't want to go swimming at 50 degrees, but that pool was like 86. So anyway, but the pool in the rich people place was, that pool was not heated, so that pool was like 50. You would not be going swimming in that, right? So anyway, I had a really great time. Met some nice folk who lived there, and we had really great parties. And there were a lot of arty folk, a lot of interesting folk, a lot of powerful folk, social folk. I mean, and I would just get them together and have salons. And in the really ritzy place, they had a room for that. The boys' club, right? And it had many rooms on this one big room. That was a dining room. You could have meals in that thing, but you had to be part of the boys' club. But because nobody was there, we could have salons, Al's Salon. And the manager loved that because people from all around who didn't have the little ticket that got them a good deal were paying full price on their cocktails. But they were still being nice because everyone showed up in their golf cart rather than their car, and they could get 3 or 4 drinks that cost like $6. But after that, it was $1.50, right? And then if they drank 3 or 4 of those, they would be brought home in the hotel vehicle. Yeah, we're going to get a nice little soaking. And it'll rain like this, and the cold is coming in, so I think I might have to put up my, hold on, bear. I have to get myself a little insulated. And I actually like it when it does this, because when it does this, all the no-see-ums and mosquitoes go away. If it would rain like this for the next hour, I wouldn't get bit. Right? But as soon as it stops, so who is my Birmingham? Let's see. Minnie, how beautiful. Carlos, la 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 la. Yep. Yes, I can see because I have the nun eye that sees. Ooh, I see it, the nun eye sees. Right, okay. Enough of that. Oh, there's Jamie. Hey, buddy. So I've been talking here for now, 107 minutes and 13 seconds. And what time is it? Oh, it's 2:81. So, let's see. Put you like that. I have to get up. Because if I don't get up now, I won't be able to get up at all. I'd be sleeping there. This is how frozen I am. This is how, I have diabetes, I have neuropathy, I have charcoal legs, I have really bad arthritis. I have high blood pressure, I have, you name it, I got it. But that was what God was talking about when I said, so is this sin? And he said, oh, no. But there's a cost. This is the cost. Living in a garbage bag. But that's okay because it is so stylish. Only I, well, not only I, but I am one of the few lucky guys that can look good in a garbage bag. Doesn't this look, you're going to see this in the Riviera one day, Especially once we have, global warming is nothing. We have had 6, count them kids, 6 what they call as species extinctions, meaning everything on the planet died, except a few things, like us. When that asteroid hit us like 600 billion years ago, it killed everything on the surface. But mammals were like little mice, and they were down under the ground, and they kind of got through. And that's why we are the way we are. You know, like in the movie or the book, where 42 was the answer to everything. What movie was that, gang? Where 42 was the answer to everything. Why do you think my email account is the dude awake 42 at Gmail? You want to get a hold of me? Get a hold of me there. Oh. So let's see. Somebody has been writing. I think it's Jamie. Oh, that was a hard landing. Ow. Okay, let's see what you were saying here, James. Let's see. Hey, buddy, Shirley. I'm late. Catch y'all later. Yeah. I think I have to rejigger some things on this. So I'm going to say au revoir myself for about 10 minutes. I have to walk a little more. Let's see. All the rest. Your Grecian brother. Baba. Well, time. Care of you. Yep. Let's see. The mammals became us. Yep. Talk to the air. Okay, Jamie. Okay, everyone. I'm going to sign off now, but I'm going to be right back. So go on, get on the phone, go on the internet. Let's see if we can get to 20,000 views on the next show, which I'm going to come back on in about 10 minutes. I mean, I'm going to walk, I want to stretch, drink a little more water, etc., and plug this thing into the charger because it really hates it when I'm telling a story and it gets bloop. It hates that. Okay. And the shows I did yesterday, I'm going to review and then bring into the public zone. Okay. So I love you guys.